is this?
You tell me your name and I'll tell you mine.
Why?
Because I want to know who I'm looking at.
What do you want?
To see what your insides look like. Now run, because I'm coming for you.
So which would be safer, my lit-up home or the dark woods? Duh, the dark woods it is. Did you hear that? I feel like something's breathing down my neck.
Holly, you look like you've seen a ghost. You know, there are certain rules you have to abide by in order to survive the horror movie. But apparently you don't know the rules. Do you want to die tonight, Holly?
Please don't off me, Mr. Ghostface. I want to be in the sequel.
I'm going to slit your eyelids in half so you don't blink when I stab you in the face.
Hold up. I have to say one more thing.
Spit it out.
Happy HOLLYWEEN. Tonight around the campfire, we're going to talk about a true crime case involving an evil forest where dying men and women, human skulls, and decomposing bodies were found. This place is so horrifying that not even your worst nightmare could dream this stuff up. We're going to talk about witches and ritual killings. Hello, my little witchies. Welcome to the Murder She Shed. My name is Holly. Hey, with one hand, make a s'mores. That's okay. In the other hand, smash that subscribe button. And don't tell me you're not that talented. I see what you guys do out there on your secret time. Come on, help a witch out. I mean, witches need love too.
I'm just coming from the House of Horror right now. It's an uphill task, climbing, and if you can see, right behind me is a huge forest. Because it's really thick and it's dense, and right on the background we could see human skulls and bones of people that have been murdered right here in this thick forest called the Hammer House of Horror. If we are going to go down to the extreme end, it remained densely thick as well. One begins to wonder how many lives, how many souls, how many people have actually perished in this house of horror.
This all starts in 2014 with a motorcycle taxi driver from Ibadan, Nigeria. Kazim was a soft-spoken and gentle young man who made his money by using his motorcycle as a taxi to deliver his passengers to their destinations. Kazim had so many friends who were taxi cyclists too, and they knew that it could be unsafe to pick up strangers sometimes. In fact, in the months before, 3 other taxi cyclists had went missing while delivering passengers. Although Kazim was worried about the danger of what had happened to the other taxi drivers, he needed to make money in order to survive, so he continued with his rides. On a late evening in March of 2014, Kazim was just getting ready to drop off a passenger and head home when a friend called asking for a ride. His friend's phone was cutting in and out, so it was very hard to hear him. But what he could hear, his friend seemed to be in a hurry to get where he was going and wanted him to come get him quickly. He needed a ride. Kazim was worried because he said, "It's getting dark outside, and this place is not the safest." So Kazim figured the safest thing would be to go get his cousin first, and then they'd go together to find his friend. They both jumped on the motorcycle and rode off, and this was the last time Kazim or his cousin would be seen. But Kazim was heard from again. On March 22nd, 2014, one of Kazim's friends received a text from him. He texted a very alarming message to his friend. He texted, "Please, come find me. I was kidnapped, and I am in an underground tunnel somewhere with 8 other people who are also being held against their will." Kazim's friend Abdul got all of his other motorcycle friends together and attempted to locate Kazim. After hours of looking, the friends found Kazim's abandoned motorcycle on a bridge over the river. As they looked into the distance, They knew what they must do, but were fearful of the forest they believed Kazim to be located in. The Soka forest was known to be a dark and scary place to enter. They knew in order to enter the forest, they must first cross the river, so from here on out, it would be on foot. They each agreed to go look for their friend Kazim, so they all abandoned the motorcycles, crossed the river, and began to enter the dark, thick forest. After some time of searching for their friend, they came to a part of the forest that opened up to an area with an old, run-down building that appeared abandoned, but upon approaching the building, they heard voices, wailing and begging for water. They quietly entered the building and were shocked at what they saw. Chained against the walls were half-naked men and women who appeared to be malnourished. They started to approach the people that were being held captive when they heard gunshots, so they began to run for their lives. They exited the forest, swam across the river, and jumped on their motorcycles. They knew these people desperately needed their help, but they also knew their friend Kazim was not one of these people that they had found. They did believe Kazim was somewhere out there, though. They went back into town in order to gather reinforcements and weapons, advising one friend to call the police and let them know about their missing friend and all the chained people that they had found in that building. Just before dark, Kazim's friend and many other people entered the forest. They could never be prepared for the horrors they were about to find. Kazim was still texting his friends at this point and said he believed he had heard gunshots, so the friends knew that they actually must have been close to wherever Kazim was being held. Kazim kept saying he was underground. I'm underground somewhere. They didn't know where. This time there was so many people that entered the forest, it caused the men with guns to run away. As the group entered the building, they were overpowered by the scent of death and an overwhelming amount of flies everywhere. They discovered people chained on the walls and floor. Most appeared to be malnourished and at the brink of death. They began to cut the chains of the victims. Those that were not as weak began to run away in fear. They were scared. Others fell down on the ground too exhausted to move. One even died before authorities got to this house of horrors. Over 20 people were rescued from chains. One skeletal-looking man was found in the throes of death, groaning in pain as flies hovered all over his body. Scattered throughout the buildings was school uniforms, women's underwear, a pair of security boots, several pairs of shoes. Baby and adult clothes littered the place, especially in the big hall. As they began to widen their search for more victims and continued to dig in areas where they thought Kazim might be found, they made even more horrifying discoveries. Decomposing bodies were found in open containers, and a platform with large wooden planks was found covered in large clots of blood, where it appeared bodies had been slaughtered. In a field nearby, open graves were discovered in the earth, where bodies had been dumped. Several corpses with flesh half eaten by wild animals and insects were found throughout the forest, and deep, dry wells littered with body parts were also uncovered. A knife and a bow were found close to one of the decomposed bodies. There were around 100 skulls found, and lots of arms and legs. Most of the decomposed bodies had the trunk of the body missing. Rumors began to spread, and locals suspected black magic rituals were behind the scores of skeletons and rotting corpses found there. The friends continued their search for Kazim as he texts that he could actually hear people walking above him. The last text he sent to his friends was that his phone was dying. Kazim's friends told authority about Kazim being somewhere underground, perhaps in a dungeon, a tunnel, or a well. Authorities began kicking everyone off the property, including Kazim's friends. The rescued victims narrated harrowing experiences they faced in the hands of their abductors. Some said they were forced to eat feces mixed with rice. They said their captors would not feed them for a week or two at a time, so they began to eat anything they could find, including rotten flesh off of those that had died. The women said they were raped by their captors, and after a pregnancy, their babies were taken from them and cut up in a wooden pot right in front of them. They believed the baby's body parts were being sold for black magic. One victim said his head was shaved and they were all stripped naked. He even witnessed an elderly man, what he referred to as being slaughtered like a cow right in front of his eyes. Then the man was beheaded after that. All the victims were taken to the hospital and began to talk about how they were blindfolded, kidnapped, and perhaps drugged because they would just wake up being chained to a wall and not knowing what happened. Some said they saw victims being taken away, and some said victims were killed right in front of their eyes. Large crowds began to gather in the forest to look for the clothing or bodies of loved ones that had been missing. But authorities stood guard and would not let anyone near the site. Authorities also refused to dig anywhere to search for Kazim and his cousin. The local government refused to wait for forensics and began to bury the decomposing bodies in a large mass grave. The locals believed that the government was trying to hide their involvement with the deaths. Locals believed that perhaps the government was selling the organs of the victims on the black market, since the trunks were missing from most of the bodies that were found. Other locals believed it was the work of local witch doctors who profited off of the body parts. This would not be the first time that large amounts of body parts have been found in the forest of Nigeria. In 2004, Nigerian police arrested 30 witch doctors in a raid on a fetish shrine in the forest near a village where over 50 decomposing bodies and 20 human skulls were discovered. The heads, genitals, and other vital parts of some of the bodies had been severed, a sign they may have been killed for rituals. Locals at the Soka Forest said there was enough evidence to conclude that this place was also for ritual killings. Incidents of ritual killing and human sacrifice is believed to be a product of citizens' mounting desperation for wealth and security. Kazim's friends were never allowed to dig for him and his cousin, and their bodies were never found. A year after the House of Horrors was found in the forest, a skull was built in its place. And to this day, locals are said to hear the screams coming from under the ground. See you next time at the Murder She Shed for our next Halloween episode. I love you guys. Don't forget to watch the ending of my little scream skit. Bye.
No, Mr. Ghost, no!
I'm not sure why I'm burying her. I am a ghost after all, and I suppose no one would ever suspect me. But you know, a movie needs good movie effects, and horror movies need a good ending, so we're gonna bury. And you know what? Before I go, happy HOLLYWEEN.
Holly spent her life in the murder she shed, well, because she had no life. She will be missed by our dog Simon, but not as long as Simon's dad rides the four-wheeler with him. He will soon forget about her. Holly lived a good life. It was, well, strange, but good. She no longer needs a collection of wigs, so they will be donated for a good cause. Holly's husband will also miss her dearly, although he will not miss her insistence on making up weird songs and rhymes and singing them to him. He also will not miss the many times he had to record her acting like her weird personas on YouTube. I know for a fact, though, that he will miss her amazing twerking abilities. Holly, may you forever rest in peace, and hopefully you don't run into the Ghostface dude in death. P.S. In her will, Holly is put in case of an unfortunate death. Her wish is that the murder she shed go to Mullet Man Mike.
It appears you have lucked out, and apparently I have too, as I will be one telling the story in the next episode of HOLLYWEEN. Wait, it's no longer HOLLYWEEN. Maybe we'll call it Michaelween. How about Michaelween? So join me next time at the Murder She Shed. Due to Holly's unfortunate accident, I will be the one that tells you the next Halloween story. See you next week at the Murder She Shed.